On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks take on a big test with the Milwaukee Bucks. How they do? We'll talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
The Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section what's one reason the Mavericks lost to the Bucks in this game. If you're watching on YouTube, I am not being held hostage. I am visiting family, friends of family, and I am here in Houston. And this is the only spot I can record. I've looked everywhere. I'm stuck in this one room, and it is dark in here. And honestly, let me tell you, it's better with this lighting than the alternative. If I turned this lighting on above me, it would look like I am in. It would look like I am a 13-year-old starting a Twitch stream to stream Fortnite. So you don't want that. I don't want that. Enjoy the audio. It should be fine. If you're listening on audio, you're confused, this is what it is. All right, I'm going to talk today a lot about this Mavericks versus Bucks game. We're going to talk about the test that the Dallas Mavericks faced, because this was one of the first in a 4-game stretch that I think is a very good test for this Dallas Mavericks team. How did they do? How did Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving do? We saw a couple of twists here and there that I think show some real promise for this Mavericks team. Grant Williams, Dereck Lively, great things to take away from this game, even though it was a loss. We'll talk about some of that stuff. We also need to talk about where it went wrong, and I want to start there. Where did it go wrong for the Dallas Mavericks? Because in this game, there was many different instances, including that fourth quarter where you just looked at it and you went, man, that's the Dallas Mavericks team I was really hoping for. That's the team that I look at and say, okay, I believe in this team. This team is real, right? There's been all these people. You've heard it. You've heard all these people say, you know what, let's just wait and see on the Dallas Mavericks. Well, they're 9-3 coming into this. Let's wait and see what happens with the Dallas Mavericks team. Their schedule has been so soft, such a soft schedule for the Dallas Mavericks. Everybody's waiting and seeing on the Dallas Mavericks. But some of the things I saw in this game, some of these moments, including that third quarter, showed me, man, they've really got something. They can really figure some stuff out. This is a team that's got some juice, that's got some staying power, that can actually win games in the NBA. This is what you need to do to win games in the NBA. And it starts that third quarter run. I want to focus on the positive first, and then we'll talk about the fourth quarter collapse, right? It just seemed like that second half was just a tale. Wasn't even a tale of two halves, tale of two quarters for the Mavericks, third and fourth. So let's start with the good in it. The third quarter, Mavericks start after a little run at the end of the second quarter. Mavs are down by 10 and ended up cutting it all the way to 2 right at the end of the first half. And then to start the third quarter, the Mavericks got into it. The Mavericks were like motivated. They were coming out of the gates. They were ready to go. And Giannis was inexplicably taking a bunch of jumpers. Giannis in the game, Damian Lillard in the game, Chris Middleton not in the game for the Bucks. And so Giannis was just jacking up a bunch of jumpers to beginning of that third quarter. And the Mavs said, hey, we'll take it because you've been killing us on the inside. We'll just take any jumpers you're going to take in front of us. And the Mavericks get out to a 15-1 run. And there was two things that happened in that 15-1 run to start that third quarter that I just absolutely loved. And I want to see more of it, and we needed to see more of it. And that was Luka setting a screen for Kyrie. We've seen the Luka Dereck Lively pick and roll. Obviously, you've seen the Luka Dwight Powell pick and roll. You've seen even the Luka Grant Williams. You've seen Luka Derrick Jones Jr. But we need to see more of the Luka Kyrie setting screens for each other. That, I think, is going to be huge and incredible offense for the Mavericks. We haven't seen it a ton this year. And in that run, Mavericks were starting out to a 13-0 run, and then at the 8-minute mark, Luka sets a screen for Kyrie. Kyrie then, Luka and Kyrie are being guarded by Pat Connaughton and Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley has been tasked for this Bucks team as a 3-and-D player. He doesn't have the D. He's got the 3. He doesn't have the D. We talk about this all the time with 3-and-D players. You got to have both. You got to have the D. And Malik Beasley doesn't really have that. And so the Mavericks said, all right, we're going to just attack this. And we got these two guys that are smaller defenders and not as capable defenders as the ones that we've had before. And so they run it. Kyrie gets a layup because he attacks it. Another one again. Luka screens for Kyrie. Kyrie gets a jumper out of it. And the Mavericks, that's how they kind of ended that that run right there for the Mavericks to get a 15-1 run. They get a 15-1 run. They're up by 12 at that point, even though they had been down by 10 earlier in the second. It was an incredible swing of plays and an incredible sequence for the Mavericks. You saw a ton of really good stuff in there. And that Luka and Kyrie screening action, that's something that I'm really watching, something I'm really looking into. And that was some of the positive in that first for the Mavericks. All right, let's get to the fourth quarter, because this is where it kind of fell apart. You have the Mavericks that had a 10-point lead, about 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You're thinking, man, are they really going to do this? Luka's in, Kyrie's in, 9 minutes left. They're up by 10. And then it just kind of starts going downhill. And it's okay. The Mavericks have fought through some things in this game. You're not too worried about the Bucks coming in like a steamroll. This is a different Bucks team. This Bucks team doesn't defend the way they used to. So when the Bucks start to like get on a roll offensively, you're worried about it because it's Giannis and it's Damian Lillard. But you're not terrified of it the way you would if the Bucks in the past had started to go on an offensive run. Because the Bucks in the past going on an offensive run, they're killing you on defense on the other end anyway. And so you have no shot if that Bucks team goes on an offensive run. But when this Bucks team does, kind of feels like, all right, we just got to keep pace with this team for a little bit, and then us get enough stops to beat them if you're the Dallas Mavericks talking. And so it starts to slip away. Mavericks are up by 1, and you're like, okay, we've got to figure some stuff out here. And then all of a sudden, the disaster sequence. This is when it really just like went from, okay, it's starting to slip away, to absolutely abject disaster. 5 minutes left. Luka goes to the free throw line, misses both free throws. Dereck Lively gets his 5th foul on a stupid Giannis rebound. Giannis was moving before the free throw was even out of Luka's hand, before he even went up for his like the position of his hand for a free throw shot. He was out of position and he was in the lane. They didn't call anything. Dereck Lively gets called for a foul. It's another one of those rookie calls that he's not going to get against a multiple-time MVP, finals MVP. Of course he's not. But then, so Luka misses both the free throws. Dereck Lively gets his 5th foul. Milwaukee's now in the bonus, so they're going to take free throws on the other end. Giannis hits both of them, and then all of a sudden it was Mavericks up 1, and it turns into Milwaukee up 1 on the other end. Just like abject disaster in so many different ways. Multiple ways that sequence hurt you, and then multiple ways that sequence then turned into Milwaukee momentum, because you have the crowd gets into it. They feel, all right, we got the lead back. All of a sudden that crowd really got into it. And then 30 seconds later, there's a BS foul call on Damian Lillard where Kyrie Irving is trying to fight over a screen, and you've seen it. Kyrie's done it. Luka's done it. Every star does this play. But when their defender is coming around a screen, as soon as they fight over the top of that screen, because they can't go under, you're not going under a screen against Damian Lillard. He's going to shoot every time. As soon as they fight over the top, Dame pulls up. He rises up immediately to take a shot. And as soon as he does, you expect that kind of contact because the defender, in this case Kyrie, is running at you. So if they're running at you, they've got to get around it, and Damian Lillard just rises up. Kyrie did a great job keeping his hands down, kind of staying away from Damian Lillard. And I didn't think he fouled him at all. And there wasn't really a call. And then all of a sudden, the ref from the other side of the court comes running over, calls a foul. It's just It's another sequence and another situation in the de-escalation, like just the downward spiral that this fourth quarter went in. You have, just kept falling apart for the Mavericks. They couldn't keep up with the Bucks offensively in this quarter in a way that they did in the third quarter, and they outflanked them in the third quarter. They did it in the fourth. And then you just had a couple plays over and over again where there were several points of contact from the Bucks defense to the Mavs offense, and nothing was being called. And we've been over this with Luka several times, but he's not getting the body calls that he is used to in some games. Some games he gets these calls where, he'll stop and he'll pull up and he'll get that body contact foul. The one that Damian Lillard got that I was just breaking down, basically. Luka's not getting those body calls against certain officiating crews, and it drives him insane. I thought he did a good job in this game of not letting the refs really get to him in this one, but there's a play in the third, like in the end of the fourth quarter, 3 minutes left. You had a foul on 3 different Mavs players that could have been called if you're watching this. And maybe it's just my vantage point from the broadcast. We're looking up at this high view. I can see over the top of it. The refs are right in there. Maybe there's players in their way. But, man, 3 different players with the ball that could have been called for a foul, and it just didn't have it. And it got me thinking, this Dallas Mavericks team, especially in the end of this game, was being officiated as if they're trying to trick the refs. The refs were officiating the Mavericks as if they were trying to say, listen, you're not going to pull one over on us. You're not going to pull this fast one on us. And the Bucks were being officiated like, oh, you guys are so honest in the way that you play basketball. It was just so different to looking at either of the two and seeing the foul calls that were called. You're telling me Damian Lillard gets 10 free throws, Luka Doncic only gets 4? Like, the Mavericks and Luka Doncic and Mavericks fans are one to talk about free throws and discrepancy and all that. It just did not seem to match to me, and especially in that fourth quarter. And Milwaukee went on a 24-6 stretch in the middle of that fourth quarter where it just went completely downhill for the Mavericks. They took over, and it was what it was. That's how the Mavericks lost this game. Let's talk about some positives, and let's talk about some negatives in this too. I want to talk about Grant Williams. We've got to talk about Luka and Kyrie a little bit more. How did they really get going? So we'll start with that. Let's talk about Luka and Kyrie. How did they really get going? We'll get into that coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime has the tickets for you. I'm here with some friends right now, and they are in Houston, and they went to a John Mayer concert. They loved it, but they're like, man, we had to find a bunch of different ways and figure out how to get tickets, and they wish that it was a lot easier for them. And hey, if they wanted to go to that concert, they want to go to any concert, you can go to Gametime. You can browse the Gametime app. It's the only ticketing app that gives you the peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you go, so you know exactly what you're getting before you arrive. And you can buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. 2 taps. You open the Gametime app, you see something you like, 2 taps, boom. You're going to that thing. Take the guesswork out of it by buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Gametime. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of this show, part of the Raccoon Squad. I gotta say, it's looking Locked On Mavs after dark. I can't get as after dark as many of you would like me to be. Maybe we'll do a live show and I'll get after dark after like a really bad Mavs loss. I didn't think this was a really bad Mavs loss though. So even though it appears to be after dark on the video, it's not after dark over here. The vibes are not after dark to me because I think the Mavericks did really play well. If I try to answer my own question, how did the Mavericks do in this test? I feel like the Mavericks showed me some stuff. They showed me some things, and they showed me, all right, we can stay with a team. And this Bucks team is not this, overwhelming. They're not playing like the Celtics or the Nuggets right now. Like, they're not the best team in the NBA. They've got an MVP, though. They've got Damian Lillard. They've got Brook Lopez still. They've got, they've got that culture and that infrastructure. And so I'm looking at that and saying, okay, this is a great test on the road, too, for the Mavericks. I think they did a good job in this test. The defense is still broken, but this is one of the best offenses in the NBA in the Bucks. And so I'm not going to think too much on it. I'm not going to, really not sleep at night. First of all, because it's very dark in here, and so I will be able to sleep at night here, but I'm not going to not sleep at night because I'm worried about the Mavericks defense. All right, let's start with Luka. Luka was just a killer. I thought Luka in this game just kept over and over again. He had 35 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. He just over and over again was attacking Milwaukee's drop. Milwaukee has been messing with their defense back and forth because they've got a new coach, Adrian Griffin. He tried to change what the Milwaukee does with their defense. Didn't really work for him, and so now they're going back to Brook Lopez does the drop coverage thing where, the center comes up. Let's say it's Luka has the ball. Dereck Lively's coming up to set a screen for him. Dereck Lively sets a screen. Brook Lopez is guarding Dereck Lively. Then all of a sudden, the defender that's guarding Luka has to make a decision because he's now getting screened for, and then Brook Lopez will drop back and step back into the lane, and Luka will then get to attack that or wait for the defender to catch up and maybe they switch or whatever. So Brook Lopez drops back, and if you're going to drop back against Luka, guess what he's going to do? He's going to step up and he's going to hit a bunch of jumpers, and that's exactly what he did. 15 of 26 in this game, only took 9 threes. He was 4 of 9 from 3, so that means he took 15 twos? That's just, it's kind of unheard of from Luka to take that many twos in a game, but they were given to him, and so he took them. He took a bunch of twos. He made a bunch of twos in this game. He was just attacking that drop defense over and over and over again. It's how the Mavericks stuck in this game. It's how the Mavericks really got into that third quarter. Luka in that third quarter had 12 points, but the other reason the Mavericks got into that third quarter and really scored a ton in the second half, Kyrie was fantastic. Just absolutely the Kyrie that we've been waiting for, right? We keep seeing these glimpses of him, and I'm waiting for him to string it together a lot more. But 33 points in the second half, 13 of 19 in the second half, and he was just the aggressive Kyrie Irving you want to see from him. I kind of think that he needs a little extra motivation here and there because he's 31, right? He's in the second half of his career right now. He's done everything in his career basically. He's been all NBA, he's been all-star a bunch of times. He has, hit a game, one of the biggest shots in NBA history in the finals. He's won a title. He's played with stars. He's played with his buddies. He's made a movie about a fake old guy. Like, he's done all the things in his career that you'd want him to do. And so now a regular season game in November, where's that motivation coming from? We saw against the Clippers, him going against James Harden motivated him. I think him going against Damian Lillard, I think that fuels him, and I think that gets to him because we've seen him now in a couple of these games. All right, I'm going. They need me, and I'm gonna go for it. And I think he can. Like, I think he can pull that out of him at any given moment and attack and hit jumper. He took 29 shots. He took 29 shots in this game. We're not used to seeing a Kyrie Irving be that aggressive and take that many shots. They absolutely needed him to. He shot 55% from the field. It was all exactly what you want. He was amazing. Plus 13 in this game. He scored 39 points total. It's the most we've seen from Kyrie Irving it's not the most in a Mavericks jersey, but it is the most this season from him. He was great. The aggressive Kyrie Irving that we want to see. And yeah, I hope to just continue. 39 points in under 34 minutes. Because the Mavericks play another game tomorrow. They play the Sacramento Kings on Sunday at home. They're going to travel for that one all the way from Milwaukee to Dallas. And so I was glad that Kid got Kyrie under 34 minutes because now maybe he'll be available for the second night of a back-to-back. We'll see. They didn't play him in the other one, and they didn't play him in Washington, but we'll see what happens with Kyrie Irving. Again, he was just fantastic, a killer in this one. A couple more thoughts on this one. Let's talk about Grant Williams because if you didn't watch the game, and there's some of you out there, I understand. You can't watch every game. I didn't get to watch this game until later. If you didn't watch this game, you'd look at Grant Williams and go, oh, 14 points. He hit 4 of 10 threes, and Giannis scored 40. Isn't Grant Williams the one that we brought in to guard Giannis? That is correct. That is exactly what it was. But I thought Grant Williams did a great job. I thought he proved, and he continues to prove, that he is a legit playoff-level starter for the Mavericks. What did I say coming into the season? The Mavericks need to learn a couple things out of this season. If Luka and Kyrie work, I think this game was another check in the box that, yes, it does. And we're figuring out what they are. They ran a couple of screens for each other. That stuff is invaluable for the Mavericks to get that data to look at going forward. The other thing the Mavericks needed to figure out was, are any of these dudes real? Like, are any of these dudes able to help in 1 or 2 years if they make a finals run? Who's available? Who's going to do that? And I think Grant Williams is proving that he can be a starter in that capacity. Now, you don't want him to be your third best player, which he kind of is right now. You don't want him to do that. Tim Hardaway at times has been their third best player, but you don't want him to do that. But he can be your fourth, fifth. Amazing. He'd be incredible in that role. 4 threes, 14 points, 7 boards, 2 assists. One of them was an incredible transition pass to Kyrie at the end of the third quarter, and Kyrie got that and one, put the Mavericks up by 6 at that point. That was just a great way to kind of like kickstart the middle of that run. Kickstart the middle of the run? No, I lost where I was going with that one, and that doesn't make any sense. Kickstart the middle of the run makes no sense. But Grant Williams, I thought, just continues to, and I brought this all up because I wanted to say I thought Grant did a great job on Giannis, stonewalling him, making sure he couldn't get into the paint, couldn't get position. It was all the other stuff. How many times did Giannis score on Grant Williams himself? Giannis had 18 field goals made, which is a bunch. 18 field goals made. I would venture to say like 5 or 6 of them were against Grant Williams. A ton of others were against a bunch of other Mavericks where there's all their other kind of actions. Giannis is being guarded by different guys. Dereck Lively stepping up with 4 or 5 fouls, and he can't really do a ton except for just stay vertical against him. He scored a bunch in those ways too. Grant Williams I thought he showed his value in this game tonight. Don't let the 40 points fool you. Grant Williams, I thought, did a great job in this game, and I think that he's proving why he's a playoff-level starter for the Mavericks. And that's something the Mavericks needed to figure out. Is he that? I think he is. And I think we're figuring that out early. Dereck Lively, I think, proved his impact in this game too. He was a -1 in this game. I wouldn't take a lot out of that. That third quarter run at the beginning, Lively was part of that. He was also part of the fourth quarter run where the Bucks came back and it just came apart for the Mavericks, and I don't know that it was necessarily his fault. So that's where you can't look at single game plus minus and go, oh, he's a -1. That means he didn't really make an impact. I thought he completely did. 6 points, 10 boards. They needed all those boards. Mavericks actually won the rebounding battle. I'm looking around for Isaac because the Mavericks won the rebounding battle and they lost the game. 6 points, 10 boards. He had a block. He had a couple of assists too. I just thought he's just so valuable for this team. The things that he does, the way that he was defending, some of the fouls I thought were BS, like the one I talked about earlier with Giannis in the free throw line. Like, frustrates me. He's going to get rookie calls. I know. I've got to not get his he gets maybe less frustrated than I do about some of these fouls that are called against him. But again, just another solid outing for Dereck Lively. Played less than 24 minutes too because of that foul trouble. He would have played more, and he's just continued to show that he can play more. I think he'll be at 30 minutes a game by, I don't know, like the All-Star break. Like I think he'll be there because the Mavericks will just keep giving him a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And I think it'll go up in levels. It's not going to like gradually increase. I think they're all of a sudden will be like, wow, Dereck Lively's playing 28 minutes a game or 27 minutes a game. And then he'll hit 30 minutes a game. And we'll be like, man, all of a sudden Dereck Lively's playing 30 minutes every single night. The fouls definitely have a factor in this for sure, but he's just showing his impact. It's been awesome. He's been incredible. We also mentioned in the fourth quarter, I didn't say this earlier, in the fourth quarter, the Bucks went 6 of 13 from 3. The Mavericks went 3 of 15. Get a couple more role player threes to go in, and that completely changes the fourth quarter of this game and completely changes a bunch of stuff for the Mavericks. Grant Williams went 0 of 4 from 3 in that one. In the fourth quarter, Kyrie went 1 of 4. Tim Hardaway was 2 of 5. He hit a couple. And then Luka missed one. Josh Green missed one. And then on the other side, the Bucks, Pat Connaughton hit 2 of 4. Giannis hit the one. AJ Green, not the NFL wide receiver apparently, hit one. Cameron Payne hit one. Like, literally, that's 3 role players. Connaughton, Cameron Payne, AJ Green all hit threes. And the Mavericks role players, you got 2 from Tim. And you didn't get 1 from Josh, who took 1. Grant took 4, and he didn't make any. So, like, literally, that's the difference. When you got these stars that are both going at each other, then all of a sudden the difference becomes the others, the other guys. And that's why Luka and Kyrie even and Jason Kidd and Nico Harrison and everybody and Mark Cuban were all talking about this summer. They didn't have the right role players around the Mavericks. They didn't have the right role players around Luka and Kyrie. The difference between this win could have been those threes, right? And think about all the times that happened last year. Fascinating. This is another thing that I've been tracking, that I've been talking about with the subtexters. If you want to subscribe to our subtext, click the link in the description. You'll get texts from me, updates, all kinds of good stuff. I've been tracking the Mavericks and their pace and how they push the pace and get in transition off of live rebounds. And if the Mavericks do this before this game, if the Mavericks did this 21% of the time or more, they won every single one of those games. I think they were 7-0 when they did that. This is the first game that they've ever lost this season where they were pushing the pace off of live rebounds. They pushed it 47% of the time. That's huge. That's such a big number. That's half the time, basically. The Mavericks are pushing the ball in transition, trying to get up the floor off of a live ball and off of a live rebound, and they didn't score enough on it. It just really didn't. How many fast break points did they have? It was like under 10, right? They had not enough fast break points. They weren't converting the 9 fast break points. They weren't converting any of those live ball rebounds and pushes into any kind of points. That's what you got to do. The Bucks did a great job in transition defense. They got back. They've got Giannis. I mean, you can remember that play from the first quarter where Derrick Jones Jr. it's like got an open bucket and he's right there. It's him and Damian Lillard going down the other floor because Grant Williams swiped the ball away. Derrick Jones Jr. got it. They're running up the floor, and all of a sudden he's like, all right, I got a dunk right here. I'm airplane mode. And Giannis is like, hey, guess what? No, you don't. He just blocks it, completely smacks it out of his way. And he thought he had a wide open. I mean, that's the stuff that the Bucks can do. That's the stuff their defense can do when you just have guys that get back and are committed to that. And so the Mavericks really didn't take advantage of that. And this is the first game the Mavericks have lost where they pushed the pace. They actually did push the pace after live rebounds. So there you go. So much other stuff from this game, man. We saw Mavs push the pace. We saw that third quarter run, Luka, Kyrie. There's disappointing stuff in this game for sure. I'm seeing a lot of the Josh Green talk. He played 19 minutes. Do you remember a thing he did? He had 3 assists, 4 rebounds. He's a minus 27. The Mavericks were just outscored those bench lineups. Those bench lineups just got beat really bad. That's not all on Josh Green, obviously, but it shows that those bench lineups were outscored by a ton. I thought we saw good stuff from Dante Exum. Derrick Jones Jr. It was 0 of 7 in this game. I think that's going to happen every once in a while. He's not a scorer, so these games when he has 20 points are like they have to be, all right, that's awesome, and not we expect this now from him at this point in his career. There you go. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with me on Locked On Mavs. Tomorrow, me and Reggie will be back with Locked On Mavs versus the Kings. Not Locked On Mavs versus the Kings. The Mavs versus the Kings. And so we'll have that game covered for you guys. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.